Welcome to the Cumbria Business Growth Hub podcast. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about our mentoring program, which is now recruiting for its next cohort to start from the 1st of April. This year, as part of the mentoring program, we've extended it to include leadership mentoring. And this is going to be delivered by Alec Pearson Coaching. And I'm happy to say I've got Alec on the podcast today to tell us more. Welcome, Alec.
Hello, Joe. Thank you very much for inviting me along today.
It's great to have you and to talk all about leadership and plans for this program. So can you just start off by telling us what led you to work with the Growth Hub to add this element to the mentoring program?
Yeah, the reason why I spoke with the Cumbria Business Growth Hub is over my years of coaching and also teaching around leadership and professional skills and strategy development, it's becoming more and more concerning that there are so many leaders out there who are struggling with their role as a leader or as a manager. Now, what I'm starting to we've also got to consider on this is that, particularly at the moment, as we record this in March 2025, there's a number of economic challenges out there. But we've got leaders who are struggling in that role, as I mentioned. And while they're trying to deal with day-to-day leadership or day-to-day management, they're not getting that opportunity to even sit back and understand what's happening in the wider world or kind of regional economic climate and the impacts that that can have on their department. But also another reason that I'm, looking to work with the Business Growth Hub is when I'm working with not just leaders, but I'm working with team members, I'm getting hearing a lot of issues around, we're not being led, our manager's not supporting us, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, we're starting to get stressed. So just seeing and hearing so many different stories and also speaking to other businesses and other coaches, it's apparent we have this big issue out there that we need to resolve. And we need to do something about it to make sure that businesses, particularly in Cumbria, can move forward, can ride the wave, but also look at departmental and business growth going forward.
So the Chartered Management Institute found that 82% of managers have had no formal leadership training. How does this happen and what impact does it have on business?
The first impact we see on business is overall employee well-being. And this is not just the leader, but it's also the team members. And what we are seeing, and I'm seeing a lot of statistics on this, we're seeing increased stress within the workplace. We're seeing higher instances of burnout. And then what that leads to is decreased job satisfaction. Okay. We're also seeing an impact on productivity because of the areas I've just discussed. But what is also interesting, we're seeing increased turnover. Now, this is not just leaders and managers who are being put into these roles and they've not had the support in those roles. So they're thinking, right, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to leave. But also you've got team members who are reporting to a leader that hasn't had that training. They're not happy. They're thinking, I can't work in this environment. And then they're looking to move on. So it's like a circle of issues that just keep going round and round and round. But the problem is, this is what's having an impact on productivity for that, for that business, for that organization, because typically nothing is moving at the pace that it needs to. So therefore, we're getting that impact on growth, new strategic ideas coming in, looking at future proofing or bringing in new systems, technologies, whatever it might be. And it just, when I see some of the leaders I've worked with, they're coming to me and they're stuck. They just don't know what they're supposed to do. They know there's a problem, but it's like, I don't know what to do. How am I going to resolve this issue?
In terms of the clients you work with, are you seeing that this is an issue in specific sectors or is it across the board?
From my experience, this is across the board. I mean, I work with clients in professional services, in manufacturing, in retail, and it's exactly the same problem I'm hearing across the board. The other interesting area as well that I think is certainly worth mentioning leaders are also having another added layer that they need to think about, or responsibility they need to think about, and that is Generation Z. Because one of the things I'm noticing when I'm speaking to senior leaders or directors in organizations, and I ask them the question, what's your biggest challenge? And it's dealing with Generation Z. There's another leadership style, there's another management style we need to consider. But if we can't do what we were supposed to be doing in the first place, all these problems are just building up and building up, and nothing's getting done to resolve them.
Do you think it's true to say that kind of leadership styles are having to evolve over time as kind of the next generation comes into the workforce?
It's certainly, that's the evidence I'm seeing and hearing
Yeah.
from others, without a doubt. And just to give you one example of that, one of the areas we are seeing that Generation Z are more responsive to when it comes to their own development is actually through coaching. They actually prefer the coaching approach. That resonates with them because it's more of that partnership. It's more about, right, how are we going to work together to move forward? That generation seems to like that a lot more. But that's another skill today's leaders need to consider as well, and that's the skill of coaching.
Just sticking with specific areas of leadership that people are struggling with, can you give us an idea of, in addition to coaching, the main problem areas, whether that's kind of assertiveness or, what would you see as the key issues?
The areas I hear repeatedly coming up from my leadership clients is, as you've mentioned there, assertiveness. But what also comes from that is setting boundaries. But with that, the skill of communication. There seems to be a hesitancy with some leaders on to how to get across what they want, because there's sometimes a fear, if I ask that question, do I therefore drive conflict? How will that be perceived by others? Or there's a fear factor. If I say no, what then happens to me? How will that be perceived? So again, we have that problem. We're not setting our boundaries. But the other aspect that comes up is time management. Because what I see, there's so many leaders and managers out there that I've been working with, they've got so much work to do and they're so consumed with the work they're trying to do, then they're saying, I haven't got the time. Going back to what I mentioned earlier about burnout and stress, because they just can't manage all the different things they need to do. Now, interestingly enough, the question I put back to the leaders that might be in that position, first thing I say to them is, how much are you delegating to your team? And it's been interesting how many leaders are not delegating to their teams. Number one of the reasons for that is that they're not sure how to delegate. That's what some of my clients said to me. How do I delegate? But we need to understand the skills in our team. We need to build relationships with our team members, knowing what they can do and what they can't do. And if there are leaders out there not doing that, that's one of the reasons we see that delegation block, that they're not doing anything with that. Because as one client just said to me the other week, I feel so much better because I'm now delegating and I now have more time to do things. So we've got time management, we've got assertiveness, we've got boundary setting. But the other area as well that I haven't touched on yet, but I would suggest is the kind of foundation as well for, understanding what these skills are and what the kind of challenges for us, is actually self-awareness. If you think on average, and this is not just leaders, only 15% of us have self-awareness, actually understand who we are, what our strengths are, what do we bring to the table, etc., etc. But part of why we don't have self-awareness is going back to what I said earlier, because we're so busy and we're so consumed in what we're doing, we're never sitting back. We're never self-reflecting and looking at a particular day. And the impact that has links to another kind of skills gap or kind of concern about ourselves, is that we have a lack of confidence. And that lack of confidence comes from, did I do that job correctly? Am I doing this right? Oh, how did that manager perceive me? How did that particular client perceive me? Because we're never getting time off to think and reflect, our brains are not processing what really happened during a particular day. So what do? We go into doubt. Doubt knocks our self-confidence, and so it goes on. And one of the things I'm suggesting to leaders I'm working with, even if you could spend 20 minutes at the end of each day just to self-reflect, just switch off, think back at the day, and then think, right, what went wrong, what could I do to improve tomorrow? The impact that can have as something as small as that is unbelievable, and it's worth its weight in gold just to do that.
Do you have any examples of people you've worked with who have gone through these steps with you, and then this has had a sort of transformational impact on their team and productivity?
Yeah, I mean, following these steps, I mean, I work with, for example, partners in law firms. I'm working with senior leaders in professional services, or, for example, retail and manufacturing. And after a period of weeks, because one thing I'll say, it's hard to get overnight results. This is something we have to work on the longer term. But the fact they can come into a session a few months on, a smile on their face, Alec, things are now happening. Wow, the team are responding to X, Y, and Z. I have more confidence. I am now more in control. Do you know, I'm saying no to something and it's fine because I'm being realistic. I'm being true to myself. And actually, I said no, and the other person didn't have a go at me. They didn't shout at me. That overall confidence and control is what really stands out for me. And then what do we see? That increase in productivity. We're now having conversations not about dealing with today's problems. We're now having conversations, where are we going in the future? And that for a leader is so important. It's not about today, it's about where are we going.
Well said. So, can you just give us an overview of the leadership element of the mentoring program? How will it work, and who's it for? What's it designed to do?
So, who the program's for? It's really for those who are, or maybe can relate to a lot of things we've discussed so far in this podcast. And to think if you've got challenges and pains in leadership, and a lot of that might be around the fact that you've been put into a leadership role or a management role without the necessary training, this is the opportunity to come to me. We'll have a sit down discussion because we have a kind of discovery call, and I'll let you talk. Tell me, what is it you want? What are the challenges? What are the pain points? What is it you want? And then we build a tailored plan for you over 6 months. We'll meet once a month for about an hour and a half, and we'll work on getting you where you want to get to. So it could be initial challenges to resolve, maybe for yourself, maybe there's some confidence issues, maybe you're having issues with the team. We'll look at implementing strategies to resolve those issues. We'll also look at, are you working in the business or in the department instead of on the department? Because over a period of months, I'm confident we're going to get you to a stage that we start moving towards that future focus, where we're going from there. So really, to sum up, if you are in a leadership role, not had that training, you've got a number of challenges, pain points, you want to see things improve, this is who this program's for. Because just emphasizing the reason, what led me to work with the Business Growth Hub, just looking at the economy now and where we are, but also the other thing we're hearing, it's getting hard to recruit the right people. So what can we do as a leader to get those skills we need in our department? Whole raft of things. But again, the challenges and pain points that you have.
How many sessions would the client be spending with you, and how long would this whole thing take?
So we are running this program for 6 months. So we'd meet 6 times for about an hour and a half once a month. But it's not to say, if something happens before our next meeting and, I want to run something past Alec, you just give me a call. We'll deal with that in between. So there is support available, but it is meeting once a month for 6 months.
Fantastic. And what if a manager is listening and thinking that really sounds great, but I just don't have time to spend that hour and a half every month? What would you say to them?
My question to them would be, what is the cost to you by not doing this. If you think about the time you will save over the longer term, because that's what I see with clients that I have been working with, they're coming back to me saying, we're getting more done. I'm actually more productive. It's about investing time now to save you time in the future. And think about the efficiencies, think about the productivity, but actually as well, would it not be useful to, that we're forcing a time where we're going to get you to self-reflect, to stop what you're doing. Let's just sit back, think, reflect. Where are we? How do we move forward from where we are?
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for that, Alec. If people are interested in inquiring about the leadership mentoring program, do get in touch with us. The email address is info@cumbriachamber.co.uk. And yeah, it's a really great program, and it's going to yield great results for your business if you get involved. So do get in touch. Yeah, for now, Alec, is there anything else you'd like to say while we're still recording?
No, I think it's just, seriously, just even spend 5-10 minutes if you are a leader thinking, right, what are my challenges? They can be resolved, but just give that bit of time each month to think about what that long-term benefit will be.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.